Excellent. So guys, thank you again for joining me tonight. Welcome to Bounce Back Training with Coach Kier. Who is on? Who is on? Who is on? Good night, good night, good night, everyone. Good night. Don't be rude. Say good night back. Type in the group chat. Type in the Zoom chat. Good night, good night. Good night, everyone. Awesome, awesome. Good. So first, I want to apologize for missing last week. I know a lot of you guys been looking forward to the training last week, but I had some other things that I had to do. But this week, we're back, right? We're back, and the market looks really profitable this week. Let me start off with that, huh? So the market looks good, right? And I want to share these markets with you, right? So what I want to encourage you to do is just pay attention. Try not to lay down on your bed and watch this training. I go through a lot of practical. If you could, as I start to drop my charts, try to drop your charts as well, so that you can take a look at the opportunities and create your watch list for the week, right? So let's say, for example, I give you 2 trades with my analysis and so on for the week. You should be able to have your charts replicating mine, right? So that you can say, all right, so for this week, I'm looking at Euro odd and then looking at US and JPY. Before I go to the chart itself, just some nuggets. Guys, I have shared this with my team on Sunday and I wanted to share it with you, right? So make sure you're making notes. Now, if you're a day trader, which most of you should be, because your accounts are now beginning to grow, right? Or they need growth, right? You should be looking for key levels on the daily and 4-hour time frames. Key levels mean support and resistance. Major levels, right? Then you're going to look for patterns on the 4-hour and 1-hour time frame, right? And then on the minute time frames is where you look for your entry, right, guys? Now, obviously, with bounce back, it tends to vary, because if we are looking at a sell on bounce back on the 1-hour time frame, then you're going to draw the trend line on the 15-minute time frame. But you're still looking at entry on the 15-minute, because if you think about it, if you're drawing the trend line on the 15-minute time frame, means that you're looking to enter the trade, because you're waiting until you get a solid body candle to break that trend line before you get in. Now, the nuggets that I want to share with you guys tonight, right? Now, all of the IML TV educators have different strategies, but they all serve a key purpose. So, for example, your learning curve in this organization, in this company, in this business, should be you mastering support and resistance levels first. Secondly, mastering patterns, right? You can choose, you don't have to trade all patterns. You could choose the ones that you love the most and master them. And then finally, mastering a strategy for entry, right? So what that means is that for support and resistance, if you know how to master support and resistance, find the educator that does it best. So for example, I recommend to my team that they go on to the beginners folder on iMarkets Live TV and they watch Abel. The reason I have selected him and recommended him to you guys is because I found that Abel works really well with support and resistance, right? It's not super duper beginners. So those are intermediate that thinks, oh, I don't need to go to beginner folder. Actually, he is well-rounded for everyone, right? So you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm not going to go to beginners folder because I passed beginner stage already. I can guarantee you that if you watch a Bell session, you will learn something. I have watched 4 Bell sessions this week alone. And even as an educator and someone that is going 3 years in this market, I am still learning. Right? So make sure you write that down. So for support and resistance, you can follow Bell. Bell comes on Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Right? Now, if you're at work during these hours, might I advise that when you get home, you set aside 1 hour before you go to bed and you watch Bell. Right? 1 hour before you go to bed shouldn't kill you if you know it's going to pay you in the long run. Right? So this is money for you guys. Right? So Bell, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Please to tune in. Now, after you have mastered support and resistance and you feel like you have a good understanding of key levels on the daily and 4-hour time frames, right? Now you want to look for a pattern to trade at these key levels. The best time to trade patterns is at support and resistance levels, right? Because it works in your favor. If, for example, you're at a support area, and you see an inverted head and shoulder pattern, that is 2 confirmations for you that the trade is going to buy, right? Because number 1, you're at a support area, so you're already looking for a sign that the trade is going to go up to resistance, right? And then by getting an inverted head and shoulders pattern, that gives you double confirmation that you know for sure that the trade is going to go back up to resistance, right? If you like teacups, you can use teacups, because if you see a teacup forming at resistance, then that's confirmation for you that the trade is going to sell from resistance back down to support, right? So what I am saying is that after you've mastered the support and resistance with Bell, now you choose a pattern that you would love to master so you can decide head and shoulders. If you like head and shoulder patterns, right, follow Oren Wright, because Oren Wright, he trades head and shoulders going and coming, right? If you like teacups, follow Lisado. Right? Lisado trades teacups all day, every day. Right? If you like bearish or bullish flags, follow Stevenson Lindor, because Stevenson Lindor trades bullish and bearish flags all day, every day. So all of these are nuggets that I'm giving you. So make note of them in your notepad so you know, okay, coach told me this is my structure, this is my blueprint for learning how to master these markets. I first need to understand support and resistance, key levels of the market. I then need to master a pattern once the market has reached these key levels. And then finally, I need to look for my entry. I need to look for my entry strategy. So your entry could be using the bounce back strategy, which is waiting for trend line to break, right? So you could watch bounce back. You could watch Stevenson Lindor and Lex Waves bounce back training that they do Mondays and Tuesday in the bounce back folder, right? If you're looking for something more challenging, you can watch Manny Quinones. He does a type of moving average cross along with divergence as well. So that's another strategy for you. So Chris Davis has asked me to repeat the names. So you have support and resistance or key levels. You have Bell, right? For patterns, you have teacup, you have Lisado. For head and shoulder patterns, you have Oren Wright. For bullish and bearish flag patterns and also reversal patterns, you have Stevenson Lindor, right? And then when it comes to entry, the entry strategy, you could use the bounce back strategies. They're fairly simple. So you can follow Stevenson in the bounce back folder, right? Because he will teach you how to enter trades when they break trend lines and so on. You can use Let's Wiz in the bounce back folder as well, because he teaches you how to enter based on the RSI, right? Or if you're looking for something more challenging, you can look at Maniquinones in the harmonic pattern folder, and he teaches you his entries based on the moving average, crossing, and divergence as well, which is kind of similar to what Let's Wiz use, right? So if you understand the nuggets that I've just shared, please type nuggets in the group chat so that I know that you're following with me. So perfect, perfect. Good. Excellent. Good. So now that we have the blueprint, right? Now that we have the blueprint, you guys should all win, right? So let's look at how we can break down this blueprint. I'm going to go through it now. So we're going to look at some trades that bounce back would have sent out, and using the blueprint that we have, we want to see how best we could have entered these trades, right? So you're doing your own due diligence, right, with these trades by saying, okay, so let me share my screen first. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So let's say that bounce back sent out a sell on GU, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is go to trading view, sorry, and we're gonna go to GBP USD, right? And what did the blueprint that I just gave you said? We said that we're looking for key levels on the daily and 4-hour time frame, right? So key levels would mean that, for example, right now I am at the daily time frame, so I'm looking for support and resistance areas, right? So you can clearly see here that this is resistance on the left hand side, and as we bring it across, this is where the trade is currently at. We're at a key level on the daily time frame, right? Now I want you to go ahead as well and just identify your support. So don't draw resistance unless and leave it without a support. So still draw your daily support so you have an overall view of where the market is testing, right? So we can see how the market is basically testing in between these two zones. Right. So so we can see how the market is testing in between these two zones, and we can currently see how we are at a resistance level, right? So coming down to the 4-hour time frame, right? What I want to see in this area now is some rejection. I want to see wicks at this resistance area, and that's key for me because that starts to confirm that bounce backs, the trade that bounce back sent out, right, is leaning towards that direction of the sell. So you can see that the sell is coming, right? Because you want to see some rejection in this area. So as I come now to the 1-hour time frame, I should be seeing the entire trade pausing at this resistance zone, right? So once we're at resistance, the next thing that we want to try to identify is a pattern, right? We want to try to identify a reversal pattern, because if you don't see a reversal pattern, then it means that the trade still has room for it to continue in the direction that is going right now. It means that it can still continue to buy and break through our resistance zone, right? So we want to start to identify a reversal pattern that we can say for sure I can see and I can agree with the buy or the sell that bounce back has sent out. So if you understand what I have said so far about key levels, type levels in the chat box. All right. So now that we have identified our support and our resistance, we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a trend line, because we know that the rules for bounce back is to identify the current trend. And we can see how this is a clear uptrend, right? We can see how this is a clear uptrend. So using any low, it doesn't necessarily have to be from here. It could be from here as well, right? So using any low of that uptrend, you're going to draw a trend line. Please do not force the trend line, because I know persons who would have said, this looks too far away. Coach, this looks too far away. You sure that the trend line in from here to here and bring it closer to the trade? No. Don't force the trend line. You want to identify the overall uptrend. This here is not an uptrend. This is just an impulse to the upside and some type of flag that is being formed. This is not an uptrend. So you're not going to draw a trend line from here and bring it to here. You have to identify a clear uptrend where you have higher highs and higher lows. So we can clearly see how we have higher highs and higher lows here, right? Now remember I said, if we're looking for a sell on GU, we need to be able to identify a pattern, right? So currently, I am not seeing a pattern that I can identify. 1 second. Right. So you cannot identify, I certainly cannot identify a reversal pattern at this support zone as yet, right? So that's why you do not want to force a trend line. Because if you came here, right, let's say you came here and you put a trend line up here, because bounce back told you to draw a trend line and wait for it to break, and you realize that the pattern broke here, so you got a candle that actually brought this trend line, and then it continued to buy, and you told yourself, man, well, you understand what happened? Bounce back told me that the trade was going to sell, but the trade continued to buy this product that ain't working, because that's what you guys will say, right? But it's not that the product did not work. Is that you have not taken your time to clearly identify an uptrend, right? So now you want to wait for a reversal pattern. This is why this trend line is so far away from this trade, because we need a pattern now to form within this area until it comes close to our trend line, and then we get the actual break that we are looking for, right? So if you understood what I have mentioned so far, right? Type the word trends in the chat box. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good, right? So we have our trend, we have our trend line, right? And now we want to wait for this type of movement to happen. So let me just get what I'm looking for. We want to wait for this type of move to occur. This is what we want, right? This is what we're waiting on now. We're waiting for the trade to move towards our trend line, give us a solid break, right? And then we get into the trade and take that sell. right? And the beauty about what I have just done is that some of you may be able to identify that this is a potential teacup here on the at resistance, right? And the handle is there. Maybe, I don't know. I don't trade teacups, but I'm just stating, right? Some of you, I like head and shoulder patterns. So for me, I can see a potential head and shoulder pattern here, where I have the shoulder, the head, and then the shoulder to form the right shoulder before I get a cell. So all we're doing now is that we're waiting for a pattern to form within this area, bring us close to this trend line, and then give us that cell to the downside, right? Now, once we've identified what it is we're looking for to happen here, right? The next thing we need to do is identify our take profit and stop loss points. We want to identify our take profit and stop loss points. And in order to identify these points, right, we need to identify, again, support and resistance. But we're not using the support and resistance that we've identified on a daily or 4-hour time frame. We're going to use what is called inner support and resistance, right? So the daily and 4-hour time frame gives you outer or an overall support and resistance. Now we need to look for an inner support and resistance to identify where we expect the trade to sell to, right? To identify where we expect the trade to sell to so that we can have a take profit point, right? So by inner support and resistance, looking at the 15-minute time frame where we would have drawn our trend line, right? You can see how the first area that looks interesting to us is here where the market has paused, right? So just before we have this last impulse, you can see that we had the market ranging in this area for quite some time, right? And if we look left, we can see that this area was once a resistance area, right? So this now becomes our inner support and resistance, right? So this will become our target for our take profit zone, right? So this is your target for your take profit zone. Right? This is your target here. This is TP here for you. And I often tend to do it with a rectangular box rather than a support and resistance line or a horizontal line. And the reason being is that support and resistance will always be an area and not a specific price point, right? Because you don't want that the trade had to come down to this zone, right? And the wick did not touch the line that you have specified on the chart. So just to play it safe, we identify an area so that we know that when we use, let's say for example, I use the top of this rectangular box, right? But I can see majority of the wicks are at the bottom of my rectangular box. I know for sure that I will secure the bag at the top. I can't guarantee you that the trade is going to come all the way down to the bottom of my rectangular box, right? But I know this is where the trade paused, and it must at least do the top of it, at least. And I want to secure the bag. I don't want if, buts, and maybes. I want a secured bag, right? So here, I will place my take profit at the top of my box. So I identify an entire zone. I want to take all of these wicks into account and then use the top of that rectangular box for my take profit, right? So you have a take profit, right? And now we're going to look at a stop loss. So right now, calling a stop loss may not be wise. The reason why, we know that the notes for the stop loss is right? So let's make some notes. Your stop loss should be the previous high, right? Your stop loss should be the previous high, right? Your take profit will be is SNR zone. And you would know what SNR stands for. It's support and resistance zone. And I'm going to put inner support and resistance because you should now know what inner support and resistance mean. Right? Now that we've understood that, you can't really set a stop losses yet because the trade needs to come close to our trend line. And by the time it gets to our trend line, by then it would have created another lower high. So let's say, for example, we are using this example that I have identified here. This will be my last high before the trade broke my trend line. So this high, just above this high, becomes my stop loss. Right? Let me change that color. There we go. So just above this high becomes my stop loss and my entry is here. So if you understand stop loss, just type stop loss in the chat. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, no worries, Shakira. No worries, I will repeat it, right? So you know that your stop loss, right? Your stop loss is the last high before it breaks your trend line. I can't put a stop loss right now because this trade is not close to my trend line. So I'm not looking for entry right now. But when it gets close to my trend line, by that time it would have created another high. I'm using just above that high for my stop loss. Notice I don't have my stop loss right on the high. I just gave it a little room. So just make sure that you guys give it a little room as well. Now, the most important thing I want you guys to focus on, and I need your absolute attention right now, is your entry. Your entry now is key when it comes to bounce back trades, right? We're going to use something called miniature support and resistance along with our trend line, right? So try to follow with me. This is a recorded session, so even if you don't understand it right now, you can watch it over, and I'm telling you, you will eventually get it. So we want to look at miniature support and resistance. Now notice we have our trend line drawn, right? We're waiting for a pattern to form at our overall key level. We need a reversal pattern to form, right, to confirm our sell trade, right? The basic rules and principles of bounce back is that we enter the trade on a solid break of the candle, of the trend line, sorry, a solid candle break of the trend line, and then we enter, right? Along with using MACD cross and so on and so forth. But before we get to MACD cross and a solid break of candle, I really need your absolute attention right now. Now, if you look here, I'm going to remove it for now. because this is how your trade will look currently, right? Just one trend line drawn. You know that you want it to break your trend line, right? But let's say you're absolutely new. You don't know where it would break. You could assume that it could consolidate and come over here and break. It could consolidate and come over here and break. You actually don't know which part of this trend line the trade is going to break. It could decide to crash and just break down here. You don't know. So how do you best gauge where the trade is going to break your trend line? We're going to look at something called miniature support and resistance, right? And miniature support and resistance, right, is you looking here and say, okay, I need this to break my trend line, but it needs to break my support area as well. This is your support. This is your support. This is your miniature support and resistance, because this is your overall support and resistance, and the trade is currently in here. So from here, it could decide to continue to push up. But absolute confirmation that this trade is selling, it needs to break resistance first, right? And once it breaks resistance, then it needs to break the support within that zone. This is your support. I'm going to use a line for now, right? I'm going to use a line. This is your support. Why? This is below your overall key level. So for me, I know that the sellers are definitely in this particular pair when it breaks this resistance, and then they have absolute confirmation when it breaks the last low it created before it went to this resistance, right? So I'm going to repeat that. When the trade is going up to make a change of trend, it creates a last high in that trend, and it creates a last low in that trend. So before it changes trend, you will always have a last high and a last low. These zones are very important to you when you're trading, because you're going to use these zones to identify if you're now in seller's territory, or if you're still in buyer's territory. We are looking for this trade to sell overall. So in order for us to get our absolute confirmation, we need to be in seller's territory. So if this trade, right, had to do this, come down to my trend line and bounce and continue up, that suggests that we are still in buyer's territory. And the reason why we are still in buyer's territory is because we have not broken the last low of that uptrend. And currently, this is the last low the uptrend made. This is the last high. So we need the trade to come and actually break our last low, right? And ironically, you now start to see how things come together, because our last low is in line with our trend line. You start to see how things come together. So what we're looking for, we're looking for the trade to break our low, retest the low as resistance, and then sell to our support zone. So if you can understand what I have just said, if you've understood the nuggets that I've just shared, please type keys in the Zoom chat. Please type keys in the Zoom chat. Everybody could hear me? Am I still dropping in a note? Everybody can hear me clearly? Just say yes if you can hear me clearly. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Good stuff. All right. So this is what we want. And the benefit of understanding this structure is that if you are working and you're busy, you can't monitor this trade. I certainly is sitting down watching it. So where would how would I be able to enter this trade when I go to work? How would I be able to profit from this and I'm busy doing other things? Understanding your key levels, understanding miniature support and resistance helps you with that. Why? Because you can set a pending order under or above your key levels. Now, if I wanted to set a pending order in this trade, I need it to be below my last low. Because based on the information that I've just given to you, once the trade breaks my last low, I am now in seller's territory. So I am expecting my trade to drop. I am expecting my trade to drop. Right? So from here, I can easily say, all right, I can't watch this trade. It's currently all the way up here. So I'm going to set a sell stop, which is a pending order, right? I'm going to set a sell stop on this trade. And if I am setting a sell stop on this trade, it needs to be below my low. I give it some room because you don't want a wick to come in this area, activate your sell stop, and then it continues up. So for me, I was doing my sell stop anywhere below here. Give it some room. Anywhere below these wicks. Give it some room, huh? Right? And from here, my trade activates here, is going down to my zone that I've identified for my take profit. That's 50 pips. My sell stop sorted. I am in the trade. I have set my sell stop, my pending order, and now I can go along and do the paperwork that they're paying you between 8 to 4:30 to do, and start watching the trade. Y'all be stalking these trades, man. we don't want to create stalkers of the charts. We don't want you to start the trade, right? You need to get confident about your trades. Set the trade and leave. Set the trade and leave. There's a reason why you set a take profit and a stop loss. Some of you be closing the trade before it even hit your stop loss. And then the trade never reaches your stop loss zone and it reverses and actually goes into the direction you wanted it to go and you miss the whole trade because you're stalking the trade, right? And what do you think stalking would do? It will help you to see things that you're really looking for, right? So you're going to see the trade start to reverse and do all sorts of different things, and then it plays with your emotions. And once your emotions become involved, you start to close out the trade when you see red. And I know a lot of you on this call can relate to what it is I'm saying. A lot of you on this call can relate to what I'm saying. I see somebody raise their hand. Somebody say, I ain't shame. Right? It's facts. I know. I can tell you, as an educator, as a coach, I mentor a lot of people internationally, locally, and internationally. And if there's one thing all of you have in common, is that you lack patience, and it being real. You lack patience. A lot of you cannot detach your emotions from the market. So you set the trade and you want to watch to see every dollar loss and gain in your trade. But I'm going to give you a secret right now. When I made a lot of money in this market, it was when I was not staring at my chart. When I get busy and I go and I mind my business and do the work that other people are paying me to do, and I set my trade and forget it, I just come back and I see TP hit. And even if I see stop loss hit, your stop loss should never be more than you're not willing to lose. So if your stop loss is never more than what you're not willing to lose, then when you close in the trade before it hit your stop loss, it doesn't make any sense. You should always be comfortable with the area that you set your stop loss. So you should be able to know that if the trade comes back and hit my stop loss, I'm gonna lose $10 or $5, depending on your investment, $20, right? And you should be comfortable with that. And once you become comfortable and you know how much money you would lose if your stop loss is hit, guess what? You won't be closing the trade early. Because if you do your due diligence in trading what is expected of you to do, and you do your bookkeeping of your trades the right way, in your mind, you're going to say, look, I can either lose $20 in that trade or I can gain 50. And you know exact numbers. You will know exact numbers. I can either lose 20 or I can gain 50, but it's worth it though. Right? I rather know accurate numbers than at the end of the month when I'm tallying up my wins and my losses, I got to actually come and say, all right, I closed it, so I think at minus 5 pips, 5.6 pips. And I don't want all of that. I want accurate numbers because it helps me when I go back over my work at the end of the week or at the end of the month. I know, all right, I lost $20 because that's how much I knew I was going to lose if it hit my stop loss. I gained $50 because I knew that is how much I was going to gain if it hit my take profit. And that's what you guys need to do. It might seem like a long task, but what do you rather? Doing a long task to see how much you win and lose in trading, or doing a long task of completing a whole set of admin or accounting or whatever you do your work in your 9 to 5 that is paying somebody else to be a millionaire, not you? Ask yourself the question. When you go to work and you're doing your 9 to 5 and you're 8:30 to 4:30 and you gotta do filing, you gotta do bookkeeping, you gotta do accounting, you gotta teach children, you gotta clean up behind children, you gotta do any of the tasks that you have to do when you're at work. Guess what? You got to do it because that's what you're getting paid to do. And majority of the times what we getting paid to do is never equivalent, is never worth the task that we just be doing. So would you rather? I'd rather do some filing here on my trades, knowing that this could make me a multi-millionaire, than for me to go there and do admin that is going to pay somebody else at the top of that pyramid, because where you were is the pyramid, not here, right? At the top of that pyramid to be the millionaire and drive out the Lamborghini and the Audi and get the special parking at work that have your license plate on it. If I talk in facts, say facts in the chat. Right? So I don't want to keep you guys longer, but I wanted to make sure that you understand what it is that you're doing. We sent out a trade tonight from Steady, right? And on the Steady, we are looking for a buy, right? The Steady called a buy. So let us do our work, what we said that we are going to do in order to become good traders of the market. First thing we're going to do, daily and 4-hour time frame, and identify key levels. Let me get my candlesticks. I prefer my candlesticks, right? So key levels, we identify. So we know, first of all, do the ones that are, you know, that you can actually see. The obvious ones first, and then you could do the inner ones. So for example, this is the first one I saw. After that, I can see that this is the next one. So now I can come and I can do this one as well. Right? Do the obvious ones and then come down. Right? This is definitely one here, because when I look left, this is a zone that's constantly getting reversed on. Good. So we have this. Now the steady called out a buy on the 4-hour time frame is a swing. So on my daily, right, is a swing. It called a buy. So if it's calling a buy, what type of trend am I looking for first? I need to identify a specific trend that I know will break and go the direction that steady is calling. What is it? Somebody in the chat tell me. Why I can't see my chat? Somebody in the chat tell me, what trend am I looking to identify? Let me stop my screen share and see what people are saying. What trend am I looking to identify? Right? Is a sell limit on your odd? That's fine. It means is a sell limit on your odd. Let me look and see what we're looking at here. 1 second, guys. Let's see, is a sell limit on your odd? Yes, it is. It is a sell limit. It's a sell on the 4-hour time frame on steady. Right? So if it's a sell, what do we want to identify? Excited? Is a sell limit. So we're looking for a sell. So what are we looking to identify? What type of trend are we looking to identify? That's right, Paula. We're looking to identify an uptrend because we're looking for a sell. Everybody following? Guys, I want you to master this. I really want you to master this. Right? So why did steady call a sell? And I'm on my daily. So now that I know it's a sell, why did steady call a sell? What is happening in this area where the trade currently is? I can see 1 wick, I can see 2 wicks, and when I look to the left, I see some wicks here. So to me, they've identified a zone, a reversal zone. And when I look left here, I can see that there's a high over here as well. So now I am going to identify this zone that steady is seeing. This is my zone. This is my resistance. This is my daily support. Right? Coming down to my 4-hour time frame, he is looking for this sell. When you now come down to the 4-hour time frame, what do you see? When you start to watch a bell, like I've advised you to, he's going to teach you about imbalance. And imbalance means when the trade has moved away and it has a lot of space in between. When you have a lot of space in between zones, always remember that the trade has to come and fill that space. So you can see that there's a lot of space here. Everybody could see this space. We could see this W, but we can see this space over here as well. And we're at resistance. But you will learn these things. You will learn these things. I don't want to confuse you. So let's identify this uptrend. Right? So I'm going to come from here, and I can come here, and I can do this. I'm going to teach you something else as well. Right? So remember, you're entering trades on the minute time frames, not on the 4-hour. Right? We see a W pattern on the 4-hour, and usually after W, you tend to get a sell. We see a W pattern on the 4-hour time frame. Right? So when we come down to the 1-hour time frame, a potential head and shoulders pattern, somebody may say, but me personally, I see in a double top. I see in a double top. This looks like an M is about to form, and a double top is a reversal pattern. So there and then, you start to get your confirmations. Have you identified support and resistance? Have you identified a key level of support and resistance on your higher time frame? Yes. Have you identified a pattern to confirm your signal or your trade? Yes, I have confirmed a double top, which means that from here, I expect my trade to sell. Have you identified a trend in your trade? Yes, I have identified a trend. We identify the uptrend, right? So we now need to look at inner support and resistance levels for our take profit zone. So inner support and resistance, I'm looking at my 1-hour time frame, huh? And I can see how we have a resistance zone here with a lot of wicks. And this resistance zone is a support zone here as well. So this is my first take profit zone, right? This is my take profit zone here. Right? And I am going to draw a trend line here as well to identify, because I can clearly see an uptrend here. If you can't see the uptrend, let me help you. You should see the uptrend now. Higher highs and higher lows. You can see the uptrend, right? I got my pattern here on my 1-hour time frame. When I go down to my 15-minute, you can see my uptrends, right? So I'm gonna draw a trend line here, so you can have 2 instances in this trade. This is my trend line. So what I want my trade to do, right, is to break here and then come down here. This is my take profit zone. Now we need to look for our entry. Remember, our entry is always on the minute time frames. So in this case, you would use the 15-minute, right? You could use the 15-minute. And we need to identify what zone will we enter. For me, right, I am looking at this zone here. I am looking at this zone. See this zone here? When I look left, this zone, right? This zone that you can see here is a support and resistance zone, right? This is the last low the trade made before it went and created a high. Remember, guys, remember the rules, right? We're gonna enter it now. I know I had you here for an hour, but I hope that it was good knowledge for the hour though, right? So here is my zone. I am entering my trade, right? I am entering my trade when I get a solid break of my zone. By that time, it would have broken my trend line. I also have a break of my zone, and now I can sell comfortably to my next support area, 30 pips. If I gave you 30 pips right now, would you be happy? 30 pips worth of a trade, and I'm giving you 30 pips. Would you not be happy? Right? So guys, tonight, I am going to send you setups in the Telegram group that I have created, which is Trading with Coach Kier, that most of you are already on. So I'm going to send you setups to look for tonight. But tonight I wanted to do an in-depth training because I know there are a lot of new persons that joined the organization within the last month, and you're struggling to understand entries, you're struggling to understand how to trade, how to identify support and resistance, right? How should I enter my trade? Where to take my take profit? How to increase my win rate? And that's why I did such an in-depth session that I have recorded, right? So that you can start to understand what we are seeing in the markets when we call these signals. So, guys, I want to thank you all so much for joining me tonight, right? I hope the training was useful. I hope that you've gained a lot of nuggets from my training. And if you've gained nuggets, please type nuggets inside of the chat. Right? If you've gained nuggets, come on, guys. A lot of you would have had to gain some nuggets. We could see some numbers. If you've gained nuggets, give me some energy in this chat. If you've gained nuggets in my call tonight, type nuggets in this chat right now. Awesome, awesome. Guys, as I said,